guess we'll sell that with that, and that'll be an easement that they can't use. That way we can mark it as one.
Right now, I've got it as two separate trucks.
That's fine. You can sell 2 trucks at the same time.
And then this one, the other part, we get all the markets in here. That should be good.
So all that's left is road, and we'll need a geo for that.
Road, no museum.
And right now we're thinking that we'll get geo out, we'll get the specs. Do you have a geotech that's real good at not over engineering?
Scott,
Okay, good. Because I was talking with one of my developer friends, and he's like, oh my god, every time way over engineer.
they went away for a while and then they came back. So, Terracon has an office in Waco now.
I just want someone that knows how to design for small towns and not design for big cities.
Scott Langerman, who did Midtex, we see that they're small, they're all out of Waco.
Yeah.
Those guys, I get that too.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, the bigger thing is like we just need to figure out how to slice this as cost effectively as possible. I'm sure there's a way. Oh, they let us get away with not connecting that. For some reason, I had in my head that we had to connect these two.
I just gotta get the water through there and drain it.
How are you, John?
We can do that.
Well, you got pretty far. Doing well.
How you guys doing? How's your New Year? Christmas? How's the kid doing?
And he knows it. It's like the same size as all the 18-month-olds, and he's 10 months old, and he's already standing on 2 feet.
Yeah.
Just take like a step, sit down.
Everything in your house that has value will start getting higher and higher and higher.
Oh, I've already baby-proofed the cabinets.
Go in a box and go on top.
Yeah, I've already baby-proofed all the cabinets. We already have like a war protocol, and the doors have to stay shut all the time. He is so energetic.
It's so much fun.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? Like, I think that being a parent is one of the most underrated things.
How are you doing? You alright? Sorry.
I'm Tony B.
Travis Krause.
Hey, Travis. Nice to meet you.
And those are the gentlemen there that are doing want to do
The
the
plaza.
truck stop. And they was gonna come in and say hi to
Hi.
Tony and I used to be partners.
Told him to stop coming back.
But we haven't gotten anything yet. So as soon as that ends, we don't see. Okay.
Decide if I want to take a swing for his kid or not.
Breathe on y'all.
I think that'd be like 14 minutes.
we're using this chair as our desk.
That way you can control who's next to you.
It's offered to the masses.
Ladies and gentlemen, this council meeting is now in session. Thank you all for being here. This is our special call council meeting for January the 11th of 2024 at 6 p.m. Meetings are available to watch on our YouTube channel. Search for the City of Bruceville-Eddy and click the subscribe button. Please mute your phones and computers so it won't be disturbing anyone that's in here. We appreciate that. I just did mine. I'm the world's worst about it, not doing it. So it usually goes off during the meeting, so I at least turned it off by now. All right, again, I want to say thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. The only way y'all know what's going on in our little town is to be here at our meetings so y'all can learn things. And we learn y'all's opinions and what y'all have on your mind, and y'all learn what's on our agenda and get to hear people talk about it, okay? All right, so at this time, if y'all please stand for prayer. God, grant me serenity. We're going there. To accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. Talking as he did, taking as he did in the sinful world, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God and one indivisible. You may have a seat, please. All right, first of all, I want to thank the council members for being here. To my left, we have Councilman Wiggins and Councilman McGruer. Bless his heart, bless his heart, he had to go on a cruise. I mean, no, he went to California this time, excuse me. He's volunteering in California. That's right, because of his Scottish rights. Is that correct? Okay. I just figured it was another cruise. You know, bless his heart. But anyway, we have our city administrator, Kent Manton. And then to my right, we have Councilman Griffin, Councilman Prater, and Councilman Joyce McLaughlin. Okay. In the back, we have Pam Combs, our city secretary. And we have no police officer. Okay, don't see one there. I don't see the code enforcer, so that's it, except for MRB Group. We thank you for being here. And our attorney? Nope.
That's it.
Okay, financial advisor man, gentlemen, excuse me. All right, I think that's it. That's it. Okay, thank you. All right, citizens presentation. The City Council welcomes public comments at this point on items not specifically listed on the agenda. Speakers must sign up before the meeting begins. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The council cannot respond to matters not listed on the agenda until a further meeting. And do you have any back there, Pam, or is it just the two I have up here?
Just the two up there.
Okay. Our first one is Mohammed Yunan. Okay. If y'all would come to the mic, please. It should be turned on.
Good evening.
Yeah, and be sure to speak into the mic, sir, clearly.
I think it's on, is it? Yes. Yeah. First of all, we really appreciate with the short time you are giving us a chance to express our concern that we have a project called Ascent Travel Center. It's, I think, where the radio station is. And we started this permitting process almost a year ago. So we're going back and forth to fix all those issues. We have some bumps. I'm not going to go back and talk about all, but the only thing we need is, because this project had been a year in the bank and with this city, the bank want us to close the loan by the 20th. Our concern is if we don't get any kind of letter or any kind of indication that we provide project gonna go forward, and we will have an issue. The only thing we're asking is, we have a minor issue left. I think they already done everything, but they done major part. So we're asking if the project doesn't approve by next week, midweek, we want some kind of letter indicating that we will have a permit, or at least give us a groundbreaking letter. But we will not do anything till we get the final approval from the city council and the engineers. That's all we can here to request you, because it's a timeline, it's the 20th of this month, and we need something before that. We really appreciate your time.
Did you have anything you wanted to say, sir? Okay, thank you. All right, on our next one, it is Edmondson. Did I say that right? Edmondson?
Last month, a representative from McLennan County came and talked about the April 8th solar eclipse and all that would be going around there. What I'd like to ask is the preparations. There's going to be citizens who have raw land that would want to rent out their property to have people have their trailers or whatever. Other ones have raw land. They do not want to have anybody on their property during this time period. And it's what citizens need to do to prepare that want to, what is going to be required for them to be able to rent their property. The people that do not want to have people on their property, what are their rights? What does the police recommend for us to, the ones that don't post signs? What are our legal rights to keep people off the property? And so I just wanted to bring that up, so as we get closer to that date, people are more prepared in the city, especially the ones that are going to have people that are going to want to use our property for them to see the solar eclipse. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Item number 3, Falls County Water Main Improvement, Phase 1 estimate. County to discuss, consider, and possibly take action regarding easements that are actively being sought for the Falls County Water Main Improvement, Phase 1, for the upgrade of an existing 1.5-inch water main to a minimum 8-inch diameter water main along FM 1239, the connection of water main from County Road 440 to County Road 449, and a crossing improvement over Huda Creek along County Road 440. Okay. Anybody have any discussions on this at all? We'd come up to the mic, please, sir.
Okay, guys, I'm David Duty, and I'm one of the property owners out there. First thing, have y'all seen the copy of the letters y'all sent? Everybody on the council?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to thank Ricky first, because he took a lot of, he was the first one I saw over this. He was able to get this on the agenda and move it to the front, because we got to go next door pretty quick. But, and then Kent, we talked probably about an hour about this. I told both of them, I don't know why y'all didn't communicate to the landowners that were here. I mean, we come in and we get this letter, and I see Boyd's here, and there's about 3 or 4 of us that were burning our phones up, wondering what are y'all trying to do, Nobody ever contacted us. Understand the absentee owners, you'd have to send them a letter, but if we had just been communicated with this, it would have been a heck of a lot better. there's several things in here that I was telling Ricky and Kent that there's no way that we'd agree to this stuff. And they told me this is probably just a form letter that the engineer sent out. But like a 20-foot blanket easement, there's no way that I'm gonna say y'all can have a 20-foot blanket easement on my property. There's several things in here that I think that you need to come to the individual landowners and find out what their concerns are and work out a deal. We're not against improving things, but just mailing us a letter like this didn't do very good. There were some other things in here that made it look like that y'all were gonna do it whether or not. And when I talked to Ricky, he said there wasn't a date on them. Kent said there wasn't a date on them, so I got another guy. I was working and I didn't have my paper with me, so I said, hey, can you take a screenshot so I can send it to Ricky? Well, then when I started doing that, I found out everybody had different dates. Anywhere from the 7th or 8th, the 9th, the 16th, mine is the 19th. What is yours? 19th. So everybody had different dates too. Well, why did we even have a date on this if this was just a preliminary deal? I mean, all of that could have been communicated to us and it would be a lot better. So I hope that we can find out what's going on. I did ask, the water line is on the other side of the road, and why we're not following that. I mean, if y'all do need to move it to the other side, you know, we're not here to stop anything. We need to have a good water line out there. But there's a lot of things that we need to do individually. Probably each landowner that you go through, you need to talk to them and find out what their concerns are, and let's get it worked out instead of just sending a statement out like this and telling us we got till the 29th or the 19th to let you know about it. And then Ricky said, well, we're gonna have it on the agenda, and then I found out, a guy said, well, mine says the 9th, the meeting's the 11th. So, you know, that's something else, if y'all could tell me why we got different dates and why there was even a date on it, if it was just a feeler going out there. So I just think it was poor communication, and man, we could have done a lot better if you just hollered at us and said, hey, this is what we're wanting to do, and try to do it. So, anyway, appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Ms. Pam, you had your hand up.
Probably the reason why.
You need to speak in the mic. Sorry. Rules apply to everybody.
It might have been a typo on my error, an error that I didn't type the right date on it. So that's where, but there was different dates.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
And to
Okay.
second that, while I went through all these easements with Pam, I did not catch the differences in
On
dates.
the dates.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's on me.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say about this before I let Kent come in? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Danielle McGruer. Just want to say that this has been on the agenda for months. So it's not like you guys have hidden anything or anything like that. You guys just need to pay attention to the council meetings, because this is not a new issue.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Do you have a question? You had your hand up. Go ahead, sir. Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I want to hear you before.
I'm Boyd Williams. I live out on 1239, and I'm like David. I don't disagree with any easements or anything, but I do have a lot of property there where there's not much water line running. For example, where the Huia Creek improvement is.
Right there?
Right there, yes, ma'am. That water, that's only about 100-foot strip where it comes over that creek, and right now it's just kind of laid over the culverts. I own everything back toward the highway, so I've got about 2 miles of county road frontage, and I think we're going to have, for one, more time, you know, than the 19th. Of course, you already said that's not really a date, so that's fine. And I think each individual, you know, we're going to have to probably work a little bit better on wording and maybe description or legal direction of where this is at, because I mean, I don't wanna sign a eternity easement for 2 miles of county road when there's only 100 foot of water line on this property, you know. Maybe later on, if there was something else, we could work on that, but I think, you know, I think each landowner is gonna be different. I don't think it's gonna be a blanket easement, will work for everybody. I think everybody's needs are gonna be different, and I think everybody's willing to work together to improve this. We just need to get it right, you know, with each other at the first draw and go from there, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
And I had one other question. In this letter, it's talking about, you know, ripping up pavement and underbrush and whatever's on top of the line. I mean, what about like fences and pipe cross fences that are there? I mean, I've got a water line that's running along 1239 where my house is, where the red line is. Matter of fact, where that arrow is pointing, priority 1, that's where my house is, and I have y'all's water line running there now, about 10 foot off the fence, but it does run under probably maybe 2, 3, possibly 4 cross fences. So I mean, when we put that in, and it's good fence, I mean, it's all brand new within the last few years, so it costs a lot to put that in. What are we talking about, or has anybody thought about how we're gonna maneuver under that, or what we're gonna do to get through there?
That'd be our city administrator right now.
Yes, sir. I completely understand your concerns on that one. I think council is planning on potentially retreating to executive session a little bit later to talk about some of the specifics and how we go about negotiating with each landowner to make sure that we're doing everything right on our end. But as far as the actual application out there, we're certainly willing to sit down on an individual basis with each and every landowner and make sure that your needs are attended to and that we have a mutually beneficial agreement.
Okay. The next step from here, are we gonna phone call or talk or more letters or meet, or where are you thinking that the next phase of this is?
So we did bring our engineer out here to kind of address some of the questions with the easements. If y'all had any questions for him, again, I apologize. We meant no offense as a part of this easement gathering process. We really just went for the low hanging fruit and just wanted to start a conversation. In the future, I understand that a phone call would have been a much better approach to the landowners who are in person out there. Next steps, I'll kind of leave that up to council, but I'm more than willing to start setting up some appointments and start negotiating what the language needs to look like.
Sure. Well, if
We're
y'all
gonna
are
have to
open
go
to
with
those
the
suggestions, well, we are too. You know, I appreciate the
Thank you, sir.
consideration.
Does anyone else have anything to say about the easement? Yes, sir, Mr. Duty, and then I'll
Okay.
let's hear from them, and then I'll.
I just want to respond about the comment about y'all had it out in the open. We don't live in the city. So, you know, there's not really a whole lot of use in us coming to meetings because we can't change nothing here. So, first time we heard about this was when we got that letter. Now, let me show you this. This is some stuff that I'm talking about. Would you want that in your yard? Ricky sure wouldn't want that in his yard.
No.
They got a nice yard up there. But this is the kind of stuff we gotta work out. I told Kent, you know, they come in, and I'm not dropping about the guys working the water. But, you know, I don't want my pasture tore up like that.
That's probably in mine.
No, that's in mine. I've got 3 of them going up to the. So I mean, that's what I mean, coming in and saying that we should have known. We're not in the city, and this is the kind of stuff that we're trying to get in the easement, that we'll get all that taken care of,
Okay, all right.
okay?
All right. Ms. Pam, you want to answer that since that was addressed towards you?
This letter was intended for them to be notified of what we were doing and to call in and set up an appointment to talk to us. That's what it was. We were letting them know what our intentions were and what we were planning on doing. So when they got the letter, which my name was on it, they should have maybe called in and talked to me instead of talking to a bunch of different people, and we could have scheduled an appointment individual for them to come in.
But
Okay, Mr. Duty?
before.
Had not been any
Okay.
dates on this stuff, we could have, but you
Yeah.
already said it was a.
Yeah, it was an arrow for the dates,
So,
yes,
I
sir.
mean, what do you think, when we have a date, then that's telling us that something's gonna happen.
Okay.
So that's the only reason. So yeah, it would've been great
Okay.
if we would've known this,
Yeah,
so.
we did address. Okay, Mr. Wiggins, you had something to say about this?
Yeah, first off, I mean, if I'd have got this letter too, it says, please complete the information below, signed and return both pages by January 19th. So to me, that's a date. So I'd have been just like David. Now, what I'd like to know, just a second, what I'd like to know too, and from what I'm hearing from David and Boyd, is that you don't like the way the language is in the right-of-way easement. You don't want to give us a 20-foot, I'll say blanket, just anywhere on your property. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, so you want to narrow it down, the easement, is that right? Okay. Sure.
The funny thing is, we've got one gate that's locked, because we got rules that they want to get out. But I've got a key hanging there, and the water, I thought some of the water company knew that the key was there. They took the gate off the hinges, because they didn't see the key hanging on the lock. Stuff like that, you know, we just want to make sure that we get all this taken care of, and it won't be a problem at all.
Yes,
And
yes, and I mean, I understand, because each place is different. And so I agree that, to me, I think once we talk with our attorney and let them know what y'all are wanting, and then maybe Kent can set up a meeting with y'all, it's gonna be my suggestion, and hear what y'all want, and maybe we can give you some language that our attorney is saying, instead of just blanket, and let's put it in there where it's only a certain section, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I've already got an existing water line, and we don't even have an easement on paper, but, I mean, for years, you know, I let y'all come in, they know.
Sure.
And that's fine, I mean, you know, but there's some language in here, I'm not an attorney, and it's 2 pages of, you know, this and that, I wanna be sure I know what I'm getting into before I sign. I'd rather meet and, you know, have a verbal handshake and then put that down on paper for what we need to accomplish versus, you know,
Yeah, I
I need a little more time if we're done.
no, I'm all for giving you more time until, because I want to be transparent with everybody, and I want everybody to try to, you know, y'all have already relayed to us that you're trying to work with us, and we need to work with y'all on our part. So thank y'all for coming.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say, as the city, we messed up on dates. We apologize for that. Pam's already took her, explained to y'all that she didn't get the dates correct. But the letter was sent to us by our MRB group. It's a standard letter that is sent out to all people that do easements. And we just filled in name and sent it out. But we put a date on it, and we shouldn't have. Well, and I'm going to apologize for that, but Miss Pam, she's worked her tail off and everything, so we apologize for that. But if y'all give us a call, we'll set up an appointment with you. And we really will, and we'll have y'all come in. Okay, Mr. Prater has something to say.
Mr. Doty, Boyd, if y'all leave me your numbers, is there somebody else out here that has a concern about it also? Or is it just y'all two? Yeah, if I,
But they're not here tonight, is that correct?
okay. If you can get me your numbers, you don't have to call me. I'll come out. I'll come out tomorrow if y'all are freed up.
We just need to wait till the engineers know what they're gonna do. I don't even know from talking to Kent, even know which side of the road it's gonna be on right now.
Yeah, we're just going to ignore the dates because the date shouldn't have been there. So don't worry about date. Once this is all done, then once the engineers have all their stuff together, then we will let y'all know, hey, let's talk this over. Let's see if we can't work something out. You know, and I know we can come out there and look at your property all day long, but we can't do anything until we know for sure what's going to happen. And then we can talk with y'all and find out. And Are you sure? No, I'm just joking, Mr. Dooley. No, we understand, sir. We really do. We're very understanding up here, and that's what we're here. We're here for the citizens, and we're trying our best to do the best that we can to the best of our ability. Okay, Kent.
No, I was still talking before you interrupted me.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I apologize. Mr. Prater was still talking when he said I interrupted him, and I didn't mean to interrupt him. I'm sorry, Mr. Dooley.
If y'all give me your numbers, I'd like to come out and see what y'all want to happen, and then maybe we can let the engineers know before the engineers come out and tell you what they're gonna do. I'd like to get ahead of it and find out what y'all actually want to happen. Y'all just get a hold of me, make sure you get me your numbers, and I'll come out and talk with y'all. Yes, Smith.
How many property owners are we talking about?
Not very many, maybe 4 to 5. Well, we got some absentee ones, like Nicola and, the attorney.
Was that,
Around 9 people.
was that Barry Anderson also? Is that Barry Anderson? Okay, I can get a hold of Barry.
Yeah, I think there was 9 people the letter was sent to.
Then why can't we just set up a meeting and invite all those people and have the engineer there?
Amen. I agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think that'd be a good motion.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
I'll make that a motion if I need to.
Okay.
Let's make it.
Let's make it.
I make a motion, we have set up a meeting for the property owners and have the engineer there to explain everything.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to get that and set up a meeting for all y'all to come in, all 9 people that got the letter. We'll have our engineer show up, and we'll sit down and discuss this. Okay?
And we will make phone calls to set up that meeting.
Yes, we will.
Lesson learned.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate it. Okay.
Thank y'all for coming.
Okay. So
We
as
buy lunch afterwards, though.
so as far as the Falls County Water Main Improvement thing, there's going to be no action taken as of right now.
Well, they did just take action on it.
Although,
do
so
have
we
a
can't
motion.
do it executive now.
You can certainly come back
Okay.
to it again if you needed
Yeah.
to.
No. Okay. I appreciate it. We've already made that. So no executive session on this. All right. All right. Let's go to the next one. Samco Capital Engagement for Financial Advisor Services. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action regarding a financial advisors agreement between the city of Bruceville-Eddy and Samco Capital Markets and other matters related thereto. State your name, sir. And
Good evening. My name's Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets. Before you this evening for your consideration is a engagement agreement with my firm to provide financial advisory services to the city. I was before you all back in October, I believe, doing a kind of municipal bonds, public finance 101. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you all have. I think you all have had a chance to review our engagement agreement. It's the same one that we have in place with all cities that we work with as financial advisor. Ken, unless you have something you want me to specifically speak to, I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns that you all have.
Sure. Thank you so much, Andrew. Mayor, council, I just wanted to bring Andrew back out here. I know we have a couple projects on the hook that are going to need some financial services. The world of municipal financing is quite tricky. There's a lot of legal requirements, a lot of notification processes for the citizens, and you're taking a lot into account. You're looking at your current revenues, you're talking about long-term projects, long-term funding. Having a financial advisor, just like you would personally, I think is going to be beneficial to the city. A couple notes on this one here. So essentially what he would be doing, and his firm would be doing, is looking at our current obligations, future needs, come up with the most advantageous financing mechanism for us. And then just a couple notes on this one. Samco serves as a fiduciary, so they work in the city's best interest. All the fees come out only when a debt instrument is issued. But essentially, they'd be coordinating all the aspects of our municipal debt, and as much as I could say that I could handle all that stuff, there's too much to think through, there's just too much time that's required by that, and I think if you want to have some significant progress on funding the projects that we have before us, a financial advisor would be my recommendation.
Do we have any questions or concerns, or do we have a motion?
I kind of want to know what the total price of this.
Okay. Do we have?
I see a 5,000 cap on
Yes.
something that may be added to it.
Yes, sir. The fee varies depending upon how much you borrow. So there's a fee schedule in there that sets forth how that is determined. And so it starts out at $5,000 as a flat fee, and then it's, I believe, $12.50 per $1,000 borrowed, and then up to, I think, $2.5 million. I don't have it in front of me this moment. And then the more you borrow, the increment of that fee drops. So it's entirely predicated upon how much you're borrowing.
Okay, so 5,000 is like a cap, and then afterwards is $12? Or what was it?
It starts out at a
$12.50,
$5,000 base fee,
Right.
and then 1.25% is another way of saying it for the first $2.5 million, I believe, and then it drops to $10 for the next several million, and then down from there.
See here.
So for the council's discussion and benefit here, we have a series of projects that's going to be about $3.5 million, the Falls County water line improvements and water well. MRB is at various stages on both of those projects, but Andrew, would you kind of walk through what a potential revenue bond would look like going through with your services on a project such as that?
Sure. So should we be engaged tonight, and I'd be very happy to work with the city. The first step is, and we kind of coordinate, just as Kent said, all of the aspects of, you've got a project, how do we get the financing for that project so you can go let and construct that project? Would work with Kent. We know a dollar price for that project, and then determine what's the best avenue to borrow. Can we afford it based upon the existing revenues and expenses that we have? And if we can't, how much do you need to raise your rates in order to pay for that annual debt service? Once you determine that, then you move into the bond issuance process, whether that's issuing revenue bonds or certificates of obligation, where we would then put together an offering document and then take that offering document out to the investing public to then solicit for bids for those certificates of obligation that would then come back to you all for your approval. You'd know the final interest rate, what that debt service on an annual basis would be, and at that point you would have an opportunity to vote, yes, I'm in favor of taking on this debt, or no, I'm not. And a majority vote would then suffice to adopt the sale of those certificates, and then 30 days later, you receive the money. Within that final numbers and those final prices, you would see that financial advisory fee. There's a host of other fees that go into it. You have a bond attorney who's a special attorney that does the legal work. If you go through a bond rating process, there's that fee, paying agent fee, and then the Attorney General for the state of Texas review of the transaction fee. So all of that's pulled together, brought to you all, and would certainly walk through all of those with you. Relative to our fee, it's structured, and it might seem confusing because and I have to go do the math every time of what that is. That is the standard way that my firm and all of our competitors, for that matter, set a fee schedule with their engagement agreements.
Okay, I got you.
And Andrew, as far as the fee goes, is that typically rolled into the financing mechanism?
It is, yeah. All of those costs are rolled into the financing, where if the city needs $3.5 million, we would go out and borrow $3.5 million that would then go net of all those costs into the city's project fund to construct that project.
Mr. Wiggins?
Okay, what if, something comes up, whatever, and we decide that, no, well, we're not gonna proceed with it, then how much are we gonna owe you? Still gonna owe you that $5,000?
Unfortunately for me, it's zero.
Okay.
And that has happened before, believe it or not, and that's the risk of doing business. I suppose it happens very infrequently. If I'm doing my job well, we're going into a bond issuance process, and you all are aware of what these costs are likely to be, the interest rates we're likely to expect. Can we afford it before we ever get to market? For any of my clients, I don't want to take anyone through a bond issuance process if, for instance, the council is divided 50-50 about whether to proceed in the first place. And so generally, it's advisable to have everyone on the same page moving in the same direction before we go down that process, because you would have costs. The bond rating agency, for instance, once you go through a credit review, whether you sell the bonds or not, you owe them money. Your bond attorney, once you go through the process, they'll waive some of their fees, but they won't waive others. And so the city would be out money. You won't pay us. We're set up contingent upon a successful closing, but not all of the fees are like that.
Anything else, Mr. Wiggins?
You know, I mean, just thinking about this, I mean, for as council, I mean, if it doesn't go through, if I'm understanding it right, then we won't owe him nothing. Is that right?
That's
what
correct.
you just said.
But we may owe a lawyer or something.
A bond lawyer.
Bond lawyer and all
And I'm
that.
talking about if you go through go through the pricing of a transaction. There are places I work where I've worked for 2 years and not done a single financing, and maybe helped on some other things, helping to set a tax rate, gearing up for a project, and don't charge anything for that. It's an ongoing, and I view it as a very long-term relationship. Not I'm here to do this bond financing here in 2024, and whether you ever use me again or not, is not my concern. I want to be working with you all for the next 20 years. A lot of our clients have worked with either me or my partner or his boss since the 1940s. They're relationships that are multi-generational at this point. Through putting your clients first, doing what you say you're going to do, and giving good advice even when it's not perhaps the most popular opinion. Keeping people from issuing debt is one of the hardest things to do sometimes when you've got a project you're gung-ho for. But if we're looking at it and saying, this doesn't pencil, or there's too much risk here, we will advise against it. And perhaps that'll cost me my job here at some point. But that's the fiduciary duty that referencing there, and putting your all's needs first.
Well, I think it'd be a good thing to proceed with this, because we're definitely gonna need somebody to guide us through this path here.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we accept this.
I'll second.
Okay. Prater made a motion and Joyce seconded. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you all for the trust.
We'll get with Kent.
Thank you,
Chat
sir.
with you soon, Andrew.
Number 5, preliminary plat, Eagles Ranch Edition. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on a preliminary plat submission for property owned by Swan Capital LLC, Travis Crouch and Anna Swanson, DBA K-Bar Group, being 2 tracts of land, 7.769 and 46.051 acres respectively, out of the Charles Sage Survey, abstract number 819, generally located at the corner of Mackey Ranch Road and 3rd Street, FM 107.
Mayor, Council, thank you so much. Just to give everybody a quick overview of the project we're discussing here tonight. So this is the preliminary plat for K-Bar's Eagle Ranch subdivision that's being proposed. Engineers are here to speak on this on our behalf. They have verified that all the subdivision ordinances have been met for the issues of this preliminary plat. They've been working on this now, I think, going back and forth for about 5 months. There's 79 lots in total. We've got 2 detention ponds. The bulk of this plat is going to be located outside of the city limits, but within our ETJ. So here's an overview of what that project is going to look like plat-wise. And if anybody's interested, the very back there, we've got the plat for everybody to take a look at. And then last here, so council has 3 options to proceed. They can approve. The developer will then move on to the next steps in the process: submission of construction plans, the final plat, review by MRB Group. We can approve with conditions. And I'll just go ahead and caution council on this one that in order to do this, we have to provide a proper citation to the law. We can't make anything arbitrary here. If that route is chosen, or if the disapprove is chosen, the landowner can submit a written response to satisfy the imposed conditions. There is no deadline on when they have to get that to us, and council will have 15 days to act upon that response once received. So my recommendation is for approval on that one, and then did you want to invite them
All right.
up to speak?
Yeah, you want to come up and speak on this? Come on. And then we got one question on the floor.
Okay. Monty Clark. I am with Clark Associates, 215 North Main, Temple, Texas. I can't really give a better presentation than that. We worked hard with your engineers to meet all ordinances, to make sure everything meets what you guys, all your wants and needs, and to make sure we stay within all of the city ordinances. So I can take any questions.
Okay. We have Ms. Danielle. Is this one that was presented to us? The mic, please.
Is this the one that was presented to us a few months back where they had to increase the circles or where the turnarounds are for the fire trucks?
Oh, no, ma'am. That
No.
was off of FM, oh my gosh, in Falls County.
Okay,
Falls County.
okay, so this is a different problem.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, guys, that rectangle.
State your
right
name,
there
please,
is
sir.
me. That rectangle right there is me, okay?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, the biggest concern that I would have are, it's my understanding you guys are putting curbs in there. My concern with it is changing the water flow, okay? So I would like to know, are you guys putting in curbs and storm drains that are going to carry that water to the retention ponds, or is it just going to be a free flow? I know they're going to be curbs. Where are the curbs going to drain into?
Everything's going to drain to those 2 detention ponds.
Okay, and that's just off.
The way we have it designed right now is we're actually removing water off of it.
That's kind of what I was anticipating, actually. But so everything. Okay, so on the streets, like I say, on the streets, then those will have curbs, and the drains will go to those retention ponds.
Can y'all give him one of your handouts right quick? He's,
If the streets cannot carry the water, then we'll have to add storm sewer.
Are there planned storm drains coming out of the curbs? I mean, what's going to flow? Are there curbs?
excuse me, gentlemen, excuse me. Y'all need to be addressing the council with this, not each other.
Anyway,
But-
well,
I mean, y'all
just me and this
y'all need
dude
to
right
address
now.
the council, but y'all can still, ask questions without each other.
I believe that was a holdup on the last time they brung it to us was the ditches. I think Mr. Wiggins brung that up, was the water flow.
are there curbs on the streets, or are they open-edged streets? Curb. Okay. When the water flows in the curb, are there drains in the curbs?
If the street cannot carry the water adequately to the detention ponds, yes, there will be.
The streets don't go all the way to the detention ponds.
We're preliminary plat right now. Our current design, what we have looked at is putting in some type of a ditch to carry the water that drains to the south, away from the lots that are on, you have to forgive me, street.
Well, I mean, you can't just have an open
Third
curb.
Street, and then we're going to take the water through, or kind of run into the detention pond. So the answer to your question is yes. However, we're going to probably have a combination of storm sewer and ditches. We haven't hit final design yet.
Right.
This is all preliminary.
So, yeah, that was my thing. I mean, it's like, you can't just have curbs and have water flow and then nowhere for it to go at the end. It's got to go somewhere, but I don't see how you're going to carry it. It all drains slightly south and west. Kind of, that's the natural flow right now.
Portion of it does, yes.
So, but anyway, but whenever it comes down those cul-de-sacs, are those purple lines, or those where?
That is water.
That's water? Those purple lines are water? So are you putting it in underground? So each cul-de-sac will have a drain in it?
Correct.
It's got to have a drain, or else you're just going to run across people's property. So, all right, I'm excited to see what you guys do out there, man. I can't wait to lose my sunsets.
Okay, yes, sir, do you have a question? You want to come up to the mic, please? State your name and who.
Got a guy at the back.
Rick Edmiston. So my question is, are these single-family dwellings in these on these lots?
So we're not home builders. We're a development company, so we're producing the lots, and the intent is to sell the lots to either one or more home builders or to individuals so that they may build residences.
All right, thank you. You have a question back there, sir? Okay, we got one more. You're still talking. He's still talking. Go ahead, you can keep talking, sir.
Okay.
I'm bad about that tonight.
So
and I
we need to make
apologize.
sure that these aren't duplexes or anything else, just we want single-family dwellings on these lots. So that's something the city council needs to make sure about as this progresses. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Yes, sir.
I'll speak to that one real quick, Mayor. So the city's authority to regulate the housing types in this section is pretty limited. In our ETJ, we do not have zoning codes. However, if we did enter into some sort of development agreement with the property owner, at that point, we could look at some sort of restriction. But I'm guessing that we'd probably have to have some sort of win-win deal with the property developer to get something like that done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Al Beck. I live right at the end of what would be Andover Lane there. Right next to you, Mary. Am I correct that plot there is within city limits and then therefore could be zoned single family?
Which one is that one? The very bottom?
Yeah, right there, that corner there.
Yes, sir. So we do have 1, 2, 3, and about a half properties that is currently within the city limits and is currently zoned single family. That is correct.
Okay, just a lot, kind of if you draw a line along the property behind it.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
The rest of it's outside the city limits.
okay.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Wiggins, you have a question?
Okay, and Mr. Clark, you stated something earlier that when he asked about the drainage, then you going into the retention pond, and he asked you about the curbing.
Yes, sir.
And you said along the lines that if it's not sufficient enough, then it was just going to come back and put something else in?
You have to be able to keep at least one lane open during a torrential downpour for EMT and fire. If we cannot do that, then we would have to add storm sewer and storm inlets adjacent to the road to help convey the stormwater safely through the development.
But how you going to know that until after the fact?
The next phase for us is to come in and calculate street drainage and storm culverts. Within this preliminary plat package, y'all's engineer requested us to design and grade in the detention ponds to make sure that they would handle the water sufficiently that we're bringing to it. Everything we've looked at, we haven't been authorized per se to move to final design yet, where you would get these are not construction plans, and this is not the final plat. So when your preliminary plat gets approved, it's more of it's kind of more of a concept drawing that, the lots have not been created yet.
Right.
The next phase we come back with is final drainage, final roadway, final earthwork, construction drawings that will go to your engineer for review. And they're going to check all of our calculations to make sure everything works, meets ordinances, and that we maintain public safety and access through the site.
Right.
And then we will come back with those and the final plat where you actually approve the creation of the lots to be filed with the county.
Right,
So
okay.
we're still a little bit ahead of the game, but we have some, we've got thoughts and ideas on how we're going to do this. And we're probably looking at it a combination of some ditches to get water into the detention ponds, but in conjunction, we're gonna add some storm sewer at some of the intersections to make sure we capture enough, storm water flowing through the site that we don't overtop roads, flood homes, or put additional waters onto the neighbor
Right.
and create any type of harm or erosion issues. So
Right,
we're
okay.
still a ways from the finish line, but anyhow, that's kind of where we're at now.
Right, okay. And then, Mr. Kraus, you stated that, that when you were asked about multifamily housing, that basically the only thing, it says single family on the plat. So that will just apply to the section that's within the city limits, right there along 107, is that right?
At this stage, technically, we have zoning for the portion that's within city limits. Our plan is to have this target single residences on each lot. And that's about as far along as we've gotten with
Right.
that plan so far. But it would take annexation of some sort to apply zoning or some other form of restriction or another, and that's
Right.
something that Kent and I have been talking about.
Right. Now, and then what you said too, that you wasn't the actual builder.
No.
You're just gonna
I'm not a
get it over, you're just gonna get the lots divided up and you're gonna sell it.
pretty much. That's
Yeah.
the business model.
That's kind of what you did on 4th Street.
Over on the Parkside subdivision, yes.
Yeah, and we look at that nowadays, and it's an eyesore, and it doesn't have streets down through there. But that is what it is, but we need to make sure that that doesn't happen here. So with that said, I do have some questions for our engineer.
Okay, all right. And state your name, sir.
My name is Anthony Beach with MRB Group. And Mr. Wiggins, I'd be more than happy to address any of your concerns or questions.
Yes, sir. Okay. On page 4 of that Eagle Ranch Edition preliminary plat, it looks like, I don't know if we can go to page 4 on here, can we?
Yeah, do you have it?
No, sir.
No,
I don't
okay.
have that one in there.
I'll be dang. Okay, on page 4, it looks like most all of the drainage water flow goes toward the Mackey Ranch Road. Is that correct?
Most of it's going to go down to the southern detention pond.
Okay, so what is that detention pond B?
I don't know what the
Yeah.
identification for it is.
Okay.
Oh. This one.
Yes, that's B. Okay. Okay. All right. And what will those retention ponds walls be made of? Do you know?
They're earthen, so it's an earthen detention pond. Retention meaning you're going to keep water in it.
Right.
Detention is the water comes in and then flows out at a pre-existing flow rate. So it's just a technical definition between the
So
two.
they're just gonna be dirt?
That's correct.
Yeah, kind of like a pond or tank, right?
It'll look like that one by Brookshire Brothers, that big.
Okay, and then on page
Detention.
20 of the plat, which is the detention ponds, it shows an outlet structure. Is this the overflow pipe?
Yeah, what the outlet structure does is it impedes the water flow to the pre-existing flow rates. So there's no actual increase of flows from the overall development. They're all existing pre-development flows will be outfalling from the development.
So
And
it
that's
is-
what the outlet structures do.
So it's an overflow pipe? Is that what-
Sure,
kinda
an
what
outlet
you-
pipe.
Outlet pipe,
An outlet pipe
overflow?
from the detention
Okay.
pond.
Do you know what size the pipe it is?
That will be determined in the final design.
In the final design?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then on, detention pond B, it shows a precast concrete head wall, but I don't see where detention pond A, has this.
I'll let the engineer address his outlet structure design.
He's looking it up.
Do you have that page that you could scroll to?
No, we don't have that.
Okay.
No, sir, I'm sorry, it's not on there.
Okay. Well, Tony's right. The way detention pond works, it's, we're holding the water back, and the bulk of the water that we're holding back to release slower, it creates the volume size of the pond. So it's kind of like putting money in a bank and letting it out slowly. The detention pond at the bottom right, the way we calculated it is TxDOT has a culvert at this location.
Yes.
Okay, so we're releasing the water through a pipe at the upstream end of pretty much TxDOT's right-of-way, or the right-of-way at that corner. And so the way we worked that one was we have a square structure that looks like, do you know what a storm sewer inlet looks like? It has a big grate on the top, just a big square on the ground. Okay, well, it's a square box, and in the side of that box, it's going to have a circular opening in the bottom, and then above it, it'll have a rectangular opening, and that's so we can slowly meter the water out, and then it's going to go through. I can't remember the size of the pipe.
Okay.
But it's either an 18 or like a 24.
Why don't you have one at the?
The one at the top,
A.
we just have a rectangular opening. This is a much smaller detention pond. It captures less water, and the depth of that pond is not as deep as this one. So we were able to utilize a different type of structure, which looks like just a concrete U, a rectangle, that we slowly release that water through. They both have the same effect. It's just the outlets are just slightly different, but they work with our calculations.
Okay. Now on page 8, I don't know which one this will apply to.
Mine don't. I guess we do. I'll be damned.
On page 8, it looks, which it talks about that retention pond A, or A.
Okay.
Will flow. It's going to flow. Yes, sir, that one. It'll flow out of that pond to the ditch.
Correct.
Along Mackey Ranch Road.
Right here.
Through an existing 18-inch culvert down towards the existing 36-inch culvert, which will flow underneath Mackey Ranch Road into a field. And as you go down that field, and I went and looked at this, it's a ditch, and it runs down and a certain length, then it curves over to Ashley Street, and it'll go through a culvert on Ashley and on down a ditch behind Melissa and goes on down behind Miss Owens's place. And so will any of those properties affected by this runoff water from this development have extensive erosion issues?
It shouldn't be any different than it is to date. And the reason why I say that is because we're capturing the excess flow, and we're slowing the water down when we release it to what's being released off of this property in its current configuration. So that's why when Tony discussed, the detention pond, we're not increasing rainfall, we're increasing runoff due to impervious cover. That would be driveways, residential houses, streets. Right. And then we're holding that water within this pond and releasing it out at the calculated rate that is coming off of that property now.
Right.
So we're releasing our water with whatever water, as we calculate it, that comes off of that site now, let's just say for grins, 100 cubic feet per second. And the runoff rate is increased to 150 cubic feet per second with all the houses and impervious cover. We're holding it back and we're releasing it at 100 cubic feet per second to match what comes off of the site now.
Right.
That's the purpose
Off
of
of
the
the
detention pond.
site now is plowed field.
Correct.
And so that rain just soaks it up. Now, once you get this development coming in here, you're gonna have concrete and pavement. So you're not gonna have nothing sucking that up. It's all gonna be stormwater flowing down to those retention ponds and down the drainage ditches and along these houses. And, you know, the reason this is important to me, because recently, probably within a couple of weeks ago, it was on the news, and I'm sure you know about it. In Temple, Texas, there was a development, and the rain, the storm water had bad erosion on downstream from another landowner that didn't have prior to the development. Now, and they'd been working over 2 years with the city and the developer, this landowner, to trying to get that rectified. Well, so far as and I've only been here 40 years, that I haven't seen that issue happen. And I live right across from where the detention pond B will be. So I hadn't seen that issue downstream anywhere. But I'm concerned about this because we're going to have more water flow, and especially on those people over there at Ashley. If you go over there and look at all of that, then it's not very much of a ditch. So anyway, with the drainage implementations made as in accordance with these preliminary plat plans, do you believe that any properties along the drainage path from Pond A or B will be affected by the runoff water from this development and have extensive erosion issues? Either one of you.
You asking me or you asking Tony?
Either one of you.
Okay. All I can answer to is we've provided the pre-development and post-development calculations using accepted engineering formulas and methods for this site. The city's engineer has reviewed that and has agreed that they've been done correctly.
Yeah.
I can't answer to downstream because I don't know. I mean, we could keep going and going and going, so it's a hard question to answer. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to your engineer.
To the engineer,
And
yeah,
let you-
because the engineer,
thank
you. Our engineer approved this.
The downstream conditions will not be worse than they are today. That is the point of the detention facilities, is to equalize pre-existing and post-development flows. Now, that doesn't say that there aren't issues out there today, because those issues will remain. But it would be outside the scope of this development to address those.
Okay, and then as in accordance with page 8 of the plat, specifically the adjoiner information lots 1 through 14, which is the lots along 107 there, that's backed up to this property, and Mr. Dolinger's property, what protection will these properties have from drainage going on to their property and causing erosion?
I don't, what lots?
Those 1 through 14, Tony, right there, down.
Okay. Along this property
Right there,
line? Yes,
right
sir.
up there in the back side of those properties, what's gonna keep erosion? Is it gonna be a ditch there, or?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And so
Okay,
we've
so
put-
there's gonna be a ditch there. What about Randy's property over that 15 acres, that big block here?
This one here?
Yes, sir.
Currently, all the water comes across the site and comes through his property. So we're capturing most of that water within the road system and taking it around him. So we're taking all of this drainage off of him. These properties, we've put a 20-foot drainage easement across the back so that we can put some type of a ditch or and you've had your hand up for a long time. So.
Can you
That's
put
okay.
it, can you put a ditch,
Wagons
can
to
you
get through.
put a ditch around Randy's property, the backside, and flow it?
This
and
one here?
Yes, sir. And
Honestly, there's really not a reason to do
don't think
that. Because what we've done is he's going to catch probably half of the backs of these lots, and the rest is all going to the front. And we're picking up this huge area that would have come to him before, and we're taking it away. So we're reducing the amount of water we put onto him at any given one time.
Okay.
He's going to get less water.
Okay. I have one other question for
Yep.
Anthony.
All right.
And this is, as per MRB's letter dated September 27th, 2023, Mr. Kent Manton, City Administrator, regarding Eagle Ranch Addition Preliminary Plat Review comments, specifically item 9, states in part, drainage area delineation, probably don't pronounce it right, does not appear to correspond to apparent proposed contours. Off-site flows do not appear to be considered. For example, contours appear to indicate runoff from north of the site will flow into the site drainage area A1. Please note, as per Exhibit 10A, Attachment 1, Appendix A, Item 2B, discharge of stormwater onto adjacent properties at rates that exceed the pre-development condition will not be allowed unless off-site drainage easements and downstream easements and improvements are provided by the developer.
Those comments were made prior to the developer agreeing to do detention facilities. So the latest letter we sent is actually dated November the 29th. So if you go to that letter, those issues have been addressed, the ones you're speaking of. And now, as of November the 29th, we were good with a new drainage design. There were some final comments that we made that were minor. It's basically correcting some typos. And we said after these things are done and the inclusion of deed restrictions, the project is good and we recommend approval.
Okay. Now, so with all this in mind, do you believe that the developer will need to make downstream improvements in order to keep unnecessary erosion from occurring to downstream properties?
No, I don't think so. Again, he's releasing pre-development flows, so you know, at that point, we can't ask the developer to go in and address issues that may be happening today prior to the development. That would have to be some type of an agreement that we make between the city and the developer.
Okay.
Mrs. Owen.
Okay, that's all I have. My next questions will be for Mr. Krause.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and get your questions, sir. And then
Oh, in fact, somebody might have a question for him.
Okay. Yes, sir. And
Well,
then
he's
I'll-
already up here.
Al Beck again. I'm looking at the drainage flow going down the Andover Lane Street. What's to stop the water from going, how will it get into the detention pond as opposed to going across Mackey Ranch? Because that road does flood when we get a heavy rain.
Yeah, that was my question with you also, sir, because, I mean, I've only been here 18 years, and when I first moved here, that field over there that you're at was always in my yard. The corn shucks and all. But then they come in and put in new drainage ditch and stuff, but you said if it's not bad today, then it shouldn't be bad in the future, or, okay, that's all. I want to make sure we don't have that field in our yard again. Yes, sir, come on.
I guess my concern is we have that hard pavement on Andover Lane. So is there a way to make sure the water flows into the detention pond as opposed to across the street? Because right now, you know, it tends to flow across that's, I just wonder if that's included in the plans.
To keep it from coming across Mackey.
I think I understood the question. Andover Lane is here. Is your question, you're worried that the water's going to come out into the street?
Yes, my house is like right at the end of that street. It's pointed right at my front door.
Okay.
And I have like this much
No, what we would do is we would put some type of a curb opening and potential storm sewer in here to bring the water across the street. You're at the low. That's where we want to bring the water, but we don't want to put it on. We want to. There'll be designs to make sure that we don't just flush everything at you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, he had his hand up for a while.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you want to come back up here for a question, and then it'd be Mr. Prater, and then we'll make a motion here. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, they are going to increase the volume of water that runs off of the property, okay? That's just what happens whenever you cover a watershed. It can't soak it up. So the volume will increase. They're going to control the speed at which it runs off. So you, in theory, there will be more water flowing to these areas. It'll just be flowing at the same rate, the pre-existing rate, correct? Correct. But there will be more volume flowing off of that property because the ground is not there to soak it up.
Yes.
So what they're controlling is the speed of how fast it flows. But it's still going to be more volume. Anyway, also on the top retention pond up there, I actually put the culvert in that goes there, and I had it done by the county. But that may need to be addressed because because you are increasing the actual volume that goes through there and adding to it. That culvert that goes under my driveway, my concern is that it may need to be upgraded or a large one put in because the culvert goes from your retention pond to that first large culvert. Okay, and it was only designed for that water flow. Whether or not it increases the water flow, I know that you're controlling it to the same rate. It's just a concern. It's not that big of a deal, but it's something I do have concern with because I do have it. It could turn into a water flow issue that keeps taking out that driveway up there at my top gate. All right, so I don't know if that has even been taken into consideration, the size of that culvert prior to the larger culvert that actually comes down further. So that's something I would like to see about. Also, Ricky asked a question that I had earlier. So you guys are just going to blow these through and just make them lots for sale to anybody, and anybody can go in there and build anything as long as it's a single-family home?
Yes.
So.
Well, it has to be some type of a single-family residence. The lots are not sized to be a duplex.
Right.
I know there was some issues.
Are there county restrictions that say it has to be if you build houses within this and this? You don't want a pink house next to a blue house, next to a 2-bedroom, next to a metal house, it just looks bad. On the aesthetics and a range of square footage and or bedrooms, because whenever you go into a subdivision, you don't necessarily want a cookie cutter, but you want it somewhat similar typically, so because most people want to build something that looks nice, but some people have bad taste, or they've got a lower budget, and they come in and they build stuff, it's like, God, why'd you build that? But anyway, I think it would behoove the developer. The developer can set what restrictions they want, and I think it actually increases the sale potential for future people who are going to come in there because they see a restriction that says, well, I'll buy this lot, but there's no restrictions on it, and they go in there and build a $300,000 house, and somebody else builds a metal shed and tries to live in it because the county says it's okay. So I think it always behooves the developer or the seller of the lots as well to put in some sort of restrictions, or some sort of mandates. I don't know if you guys have any plans for that or not, or just whatever the county says.
Okay. Isn't this going to be like a homeowners association?
No HOAs. We don't want that. Okay. Then
No
all the
HMO?
Karens come out and just, oh no, your trash can's out. You have trash. Oh my God.
know it.
We don't want an HOA. Unless you guys just want it. Nobody wants an HOA.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Prater, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. I just have one question. On that retention pond, or was it detention pond, or whatever it is, B? My experience is you got a big bucket with a little hole in it and water's pouring into that big bucket and that hole clogs, you got a big problem. What if them grates get clogged up? What kind of damage is that gonna cause to the property around that?
None.
Will it ever overflow?
It could possibly overflow, but as part of the, we're talking this pond here?
Yeah, the big one right
Okay.
there.
What you do is you have a kind of a two-stage, and we're getting to a lot of design now. So you have two holes. You have a circular hole on the bottom, and then 12 inches above that, you have a rectangular hole. If the circular hole clogs and backs up, well then we haul, let's just say it's a 12-inch orifice or round hole. Well, then the water would back up and the bottom of the pond would be full for about a foot deep until somebody unclogs that or until it slowly meters out of the pond. Then it would fill up and just flow through the rectangular portion. Let's just say we got a 1,000-year Noah's Ark, beyond Noah's Ark flood, we also build in a spillway into the side of the pond, which we have within the design we have, so that when it fills up to the crest, the top of the 100-year flood elevation we have in there, we engineer a spillway so that the water will spill out
And go where?
not impede on any of the surrounding homes or the neighbors and still follow the same drainage patterns you see today.
All right.
Okay.
You through? Okay, Mr. Griffin?
When the water leaves that retention B, where's it going?
It goes through the culvert that's here.
Under 107?
Yes, sir. It follows the same flow pattern it does today. We're not changing anything.
The reason I'm asking, about 20 years ago, my house was flooded with water from this place. Water was 2 foot deep in my house. I live on 107.
Okay.
The ditches on 107 are flat. They're not deep enough to carry the water. That's the reason I'm asking where the water's going.
The water that leaves our subdivision, I can't change the downstream conveyances. I don't have authority to do that, and we can't do that. So the water that we release, we're releasing at the same low point from the site that is being released today. And so we're having to look at so that we don't flood, and I believe this is a TxDOT road. We don't flood TxDOT's culverts, and we have to make sure we're not doing any damage to any of the people surrounding this development. So now, if there's an existing issue, a mile, 2 miles, 500 feet downstream from us, I don't have the authority to fix that. That falls back on you guys and your engineer, especially if there is a pre-existing problem.
All right.
Our job is to try to keep water flowing at the same flow rates that are coming off the site at any given one time. Presently, we're trying to mirror that and match that, or even be better than that with the development that we come back with. And that's what your engineers have checked.
Okay. Ma'am, you have a question, if you'll come to the mic, please.
Since that retaining pond, or retention pond, whatever you want to call it, is inside the city limits, if that gets clogged, whose responsibility is that going to be to come and clean that out? You said that they do get clogged.
They have potential.
Then whose responsibility? Is that the city's?
It's a trick question. There's multiple ways of doing it. It's all based on an agreement between the developer and the city as to how that gets done. Some places have HOAs that take care of it. So, which is kind of a negative connotation. But sometimes the developer will put that property as a part of, or when he sells a tract adjacent, like say for this one, as part of the sale of that lot, these people have to mow and keep that area clean. The same thing.
So the person that buys the lot next to that?
I don't know. We have not, well, the developer has not crossed that bridge yet. Okay, I will happily get out of the way for that one.
to answer that question, maintenance of things like detention ponds is something that will be decided. We have not made a decision. Most of the time, it's guided by the regulations within within the area that we're operating, and we just kind of go with the local requirements because usually a municipality has guidance on how they want it done. If we're in an area that doesn't have anything like out in the county, for example, in those situations, it's usually best to either put in some deed restrictions that obligate one or more property owners to maintain the pond area because that's their job, and that's part of the deal of owning the land, or even creating, heaven forbid, an HOA, and it's the HOA's job to maintain it. Then again, some municipalities have a department that is able to do that, and they want to do that because they want it done right, and they have the budget to do it, and they're planning on using tax dollars from the development's creation to do it. So there's 1,000 different ways. At the end of the day, I don't know which one it is. I don't know what y'all's rules are with regards to that.
Okay, I think
Off the top of my head.
next question was Mr. Wiggins, I think,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Okay.
Yes, okay. Travis, with the streets, all the streets in this subdivision have curbing, and will they be paved or concrete streets?
For the streets, we are planning on hiring a geotechnical engineer to come and dig core samples and tell us what road needs to go there for a road that will last a really, 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 really long time and not require a ton of maintenance, and that's what we're going to do.
So will that be in the
It'll be in the CDs, the construction
In the
documents that
final, it'll be in the final plat?
plans, yes, sir. So what's going to happen is, after we receive preliminary plat approval, we will know that this layout is approved, at which point we are able to release Monty's company to finish out the design and all of the technical details on the subdivision on something that's compliant, well-made, and doesn't cause any issues down the road. And then y'all's engineers will review it and tell him what he needs to fix, and he'll fix them, and
Okay.
that'll include road design.
Okay, on the restrictive deed covenants that I have, show the Parkside subdivision in the Eddy. Do you have one for this Eagle Ranch?
No, we don't do that until the very end for projects. The primary reason is largely market conditions, and also standards change with time, and we're constantly learning and improving how we do things. So we usually, once we get done with the subdivision, we sit down, we'll have an internal meeting and go, do we want an HOA? Can we get this done without an HOA? Because if you don't have an HOA, it's cheaper for homeowners, and that usually is better for people. And if you do have an HOA, then it means that usually you have more services. And so while you have extra costs, it has, now you have a mechanism to make sure that the detention area is mowed. And based off of stuff like that, and there's hundreds of things, it just doesn't make sense for us to get into the nitty-gritty of that stuff until once it's pretty much, we're closer to the finish line.
Right, well, I thought that, Ken, I thought that they were supposed to have any deed restrictions.
Yes, sir. Our ordinance does require that the probable deed restrictions be submitted as part of the preliminary plat plan.
Yeah, the probable deed restrictions for this Eagle Ranch.
Yes, sir.
And the ones I have are per Parkside.
Well, those are, as of right now, probable deed restrictions for this development, and we're also probably going to change things, and they're going to constantly be changed as we move forwards. So, I mean, if we have to draw a line in the sand, I would like to have something more robust than that, but I think the requirements say that we needed to submit something, so we submitted something.
Yeah, but you didn't submit something for the Eagle Ranch. What you submitted says Parkside. I want something that says Eagle Ranch. Because you can give me what you, in other words, you can give me Parkside and you can say that this is what I think we're going to do over there. But until it says Eagle Ranch, that doesn't apply.
I'm not setting deed restrictions until later on down the road.
Okay.
And while we are providing a sample and something that is a starting point on deed restrictions, at the same time, those, as the property owner, we have the right to change the deed restrictions on our own property at any given time. And so, more than happy to have discussions about things that the city would like to see. Same time, y'all asked for a sample. Y'all asked for some probable deed restrictions, so we provided them. And I know that it says the name of the old project, but we checked with the city, and we talked with Kent about it, and he said he understood where we were coming from. And so that's what we provided y'all for now.
Yeah, and I understand you talk with Kent, but Kent doesn't speak for the council. I mean, the council is the one that, to me, I want something that says Eagle Ranch, not Parkside. I want to know what you're going to do at Eagle Ranch, because I know what you did at Parkside. So I think we need something that says Eagle Ranch. You're the one that's writing what they're going to be. All I'm asking for is show me the one that's going to be for Eagle Ranch. That's all I'm asking.
Later on down the road, we can definitely have those conversations.
Okay.
Okay, so at this time, there's no more questions?
No, I do.
Oh, you have another one? Okay,
Yeah,
let's-
for Mr. Matton, who will be responsible for maintaining these streets within this subdivision?
So for those streets that are outside the ETJ, which looks like it's going to be, or sorry, outside the city limits, it looks like that's all going to be at the county.
Okay.
Or through an HOA or something like that.
Okay, so even that Ann Harbor or whatever you call it, that first one there by that detention pond, you think even that one?
With the cul-de-sac on that one, I mean, there's no survey that I've seen on that one. It does look like maybe a little sliver of that one crosses into the city limits, but that one's kind of an outstanding question at this point.
Okay. Now, let's hypothetical here for just a minute, because I'm worried about this stormwater, and like Cecil was saying about the flooding, and that was when there was land there, plowed land soaking it up.
At a cornfield.
Yes, that cornfield soaking it up. Now, the cornfield not going to be there soaking it up anymore. So it's, they talk about the water, is there the rate of it, but there is going to be more water. So I'm worried about that erosion causing downstream erosion is my main concern here. Okay, that's all.
All right, on that note, what Mr. Wiggins was saying, and Mr. Griffin, I had to live through that too, but then they come in and put in that new big cul-de-sac.
Culvert.
There you go. And fix the ditch and stuff, and I haven't had no water come from that area since they fixed all that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and that was a few years ago.
Did TxDOT come in and fix a few things? Because I remember we talked about that,
Yes.
and I think we actually talked about it.
They come in and put a bigger,
They suggested
tin
reach out
horn.
to TxDOT because
Yeah.
that's something that they should
yeah,
not
they
let
come in and
happen.
put a bigger tin horn and done the ditches and stuff, and then we even went across the highway, across 3rd Street there and cleaned out that ditch and stuff too. So
I'm glad to
I
hear
haven't
that
had
they
any more
cleaned
flooding
that
in
up.
my
That's
yard
really good to
since
hear.
they come out and fixed that. I haven't had any. And every time we get all these several days of rain, I keep looking out there thinking it's gonna come in my house. But it don't even get in my yard anymore, so I'm very pleased with that so far.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, did we have a motion? Okay.
No, I do have one other thing. Now, what if Mr. Kraus gets this and gets it all approved and then goes out there and sells it to somebody else and say some builder will say that wants to come in and buy it all and he's going to build the houses? Will that person be obligated by these plats?
The plats will run with the land, yes, sir. And if they want to change the plat, they have to go through this entire process again. Now,
Okay.
as far as what structures they can build on those individual lots, that's something I think outside of the purview of the plat.
Right. Okay. Again, I would like to see in the final plat anyway, I would like to see the deed restrictions, covenants for the Eagle Ranch, whatever they may be.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind, and this should make you feel good about it, is that I forgot to bring this up, is with deed restrictions, one of the reasons why we like to wait is also whenever you have a home builder come in, especially the good home builders, the ones that do nicer homes, or even just the big shops too, so the Publix, D.R. Horton, KB, all that, they require deed restrictions because a home builder, if you think about it, they don't want to come in, build a 1,600, 1,800, 2,000 square foot house, and then have someone put up a tin shed right next door. And so, like I said, if I come in and arbitrarily make deed restrictions on what I think they would like, and then I have another home builder come up and he's like, I want to buy all of this, it needs to be nicer. I want to know what that high bar is so that we can get it right the first time, which is a big reason for holding out, just like the HOA. HOAs are usually an indication of of a subdivision with nicer homes a lot of times. Not saying that there aren't subdivisions without HOAs with nice homes. I used to live in one. But at the same time, it's pretty common to have an HOA to keep those lawns kept so that from a home builder standpoint, when I'm showing my model home, all the lawns are mowed. And then when my prospective customer comes up, they know that there's going to be that mean HOA person making sure that everyone's keeping their lawns mowed too. But it's a give and take. You have to find that right balance because you don't want something too dominant.
I got a question. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I have one more question here from Mr. Prater, and then we have one on the floor.
Y'all did that property across the street right there on was it 4th Street? That's y'all's also? Is that a HOA?
We did not do an HOA on that one. That was deed restricted.
Deed restricted.
On that one, and that was a little bit of a learning lesson. We wound up with probably not the right venue to have a therapy session.
Yeah, I know.
about.
I know we send our code enforcement officer over there for a bunch of them properties over there that's not right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was just wondering if it was a HOA.
Okay, yes, sir. And then we'll.
Once they get approval for this plat and get to their final plat, will the city consider annexing this property into the city limits? How will that work?
So the annexation process nowadays, after a few law changes, the past couple legislative sessions really require a give and take between the city and the developer. The days of a city kind of reaching out and taking in a property are pretty much by the wayside. So if Mr. Kraus and their property development team would like to annex into the city, there's got to be a conversation with council on what that's going to look like. And I think the end goal from the legislature was that it needs to be a win-win and mutually beneficial to each party.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You have one more question?
may come in late to the party. We don't annex initially, okay? There's a few houses that are in the city limits. What's the advantage to the city to do this, to allow this development?
Yeah.
Okay, from my mind, if it's not in the city limits, there's no city property taxes. The property taxes would go county, school district. So what's the advantage for the city? And it's just because I don't know all the moving parts.
Sure, sure. So, I think it's probably safe to say that if the law wasn't set up so that city councils had some sort of oversight on subdivision outside of their city limits, y'all probably would not be here tonight. But the way that the law is set up is that it does at least give council some consideration and some, say over what that subdivision is going to look like, because there is potential down the road for a city to annex that property in, and so you want it to be up to a certain standard. But that's really where we're kind of left with it. The city really doesn't have the authority to deny the property owner the ability to not have a plat such as this on their property. They do have the authority to make sure that everything's meeting up against with our subdivision ordinance, but a denial or a conditional approval, the law says that we have to do that, and we have to cite the specific law as to what we need to be improved to get this plat done. Did that answer your question? I know that was kind of roundabout.
There's really no revenue generation.
Water.
There's just a few properties that are going to generate property tax revenue here, and as far as the properties that are outside the city limits, they're going to be adding tax value to our school district. They're going to be adding tax value to our county. Those are advantageous ways of looking at it. But as far as the city and our budget, it won't. It could potentially sales tax. Yes, it could increase sales tax by extra
Which
folks.
will increase our budget. More people spending money here.
That's a good point. And also
Yeah, and
probably
water
commercial
revenue.
activity too. Commercial activity, having more houses, rooftops, usually leads to
Spending more money in town,
more
water
businesses.
revenue.
Yeah.
And one thing you said, touched on there, Mayor, was about the water revenue. These 79 homes, in your opinion, are we gonna, if they was to start building within a year, and are we gonna have sufficient enough water to supply all 79 homes?
Well, I can't speak to that one 100% tonight, but what I can say is that we do have some additional capacity for sourcing. The way we, deal with it here at the city is we require property developers to submit that water meter feasibility study. For a project this big, I'm pretty sure that MRB group is going to want to get a quote on how much this would cost them. The developer would submit that, and then they would get their answer on whether or not just the supply of water is going to be available, but also we're going to have the right pressure, we're going to have the right pumping capacity, storage, all those aspects.
Which is in the plat plans, there is a water usage, I'll say, might not say the right verbiage here, but there is roughly how many gallons a month it's going to require and all of that. So with that, I'm hoping our engineers is going to be able to say, with the current water conditions that we have right now, without any new wells, then we'll be able to service that. I mean, I'd like to.
We'd have to go to the overall pressure planes that we've identified for the city, and we've created a database for each one of the pressure zones and how much additional meters it could support today based on supply, storage, and distribution. But those are exercises that we will go through at the time they submit for a water feasibility study.
Okay, because I wouldn't think, if I was them, I wouldn't want to bet on 79 homes and then come find out, well, we don't have enough water right now. Maybe later when we get a new well, we will. I'd want to know that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I agree.
And we did do a water feasibility study. It was before you joined the team. And at the time, y'all had enough water as a result of that water feasibility study. I don't know if y'all have had any major changes to the situation since then, but we definitely are not going to not get another one just to be triple sure.
Linda.
All right.
Linda.
Okay, Mr. Prater?
I don't think we're gonna figure out anything else until we approve this plat and
Yeah.
see how it turns out.
Yeah.
So
So do I have
I'll
a
make a
motion?
motion that we approve the preliminary plat.
Yes, sir.
Let's see
Do I
what
have a second?
holds in the future.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, second. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, preliminary
Thank you.
plats there. You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for answering all our questions.
Yes, sir.
And you too, Tony.
Resolution approving auction of 115 Hungry Hill Road. Council discuss, consider, and probably take action on Resolution 1-11-2024-1, approving the disposition of surplus land owner by the city of Bruceville-Eddy located at 115 Hungry Hill Road, Eddy, Texas 76524 by Renee Bates Auctioneer Incorporation. Any questions?
Council, I can go into a presentation on this one, or
You go
I
right
can
ahead,
let
sir.
y'all go ahead and make your motions on this one too. This might be a no-brainer for y'all.
Yeah, y'all want to
Well,
auction it
first,
off?
yeah,
You
I'll
wanna
make a motion, we just auction it off and
Okay.
get it out.
I'll second
Favor?
that.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, okay. Number 7, maintenance service agreement, copier service. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to renew the maintenance service agreement with Texas Office Systems for copier services.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a agreement that we have to renew each and every year. This one here, just so that everybody is aware that we are going out to look at some different vendors for next year's maintenance agreement. We're also looking at the possibility of changing up some of our machines as our lease is nearing the end of its current 5-year, I think, 5-year or 6-year term. The budget that we currently have for 2023, 2024 is about $1,100 across 4 departments for copying, printing, and form services. Year to date, we've spent about $1,152, so a little bit over the amount we have budgeted. However, that's split across 2 different fiscal years on that one. The bulk of the cost that we've been having here is just overages on our color and black and white printing, so we might just need to adjust the budget in the next cycle, but we're pretty much on par with it. So my recommendation on here was just to approve the agreement.
All right, Mr. Wiggins?
Okay, I'll make a motion to renew the maintenance service agreement with Texas Office Systems for copier services.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to our next item.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All right. It is now 7:43, and this council meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies, for everybody coming out today. Thank you very much.